izi zavuzwe mbere kandi nawe abigizemo uruhare rufatika. Ubu butumwa bubugejejweho n'impuzamiryango Profam Twese Hamwe ibinyujije mu mushinga SAV ku bufatanye na Care Rwanda, Duhamik Adri, Urwego Finance na Amir ku nkunga ya Mastercard Foundation. Umugore ni uw'agaciro.
Divine Hope ni uruganda rwa mbere ruzobereye mu gukora produits z'ubwiza n'isuku kandi zihariye muri byose. Tugane tuguhe Eco Hair Gel, amavuta atuma umusatsi wawe usa neza ukanarambuka. Nice Pure Glycerin yifashishwa mu gufungura andi mavuta. Eco Hand Wash isukura intoki zawe zigasa neza. Eco Nguvu Laundry kuri ibizinga mu myenda yawe. Eco General yifashishwa mu gusukura ibintu bitandukanye n'izindi nyinshi. Produits zacu ni made in Rwanda kandi zujuje ubuziranenge. Izi produits murazibona mu gihugu hose mu ngano zitandukanye kandi ku giciro cyoroheye buri wese.
Good evening to you all and welcome to the English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. We'll begin with the headlines. The government of Rwanda has announced that due to Belgium's pitiful attempts to sustain its neo-colonial delusions, it has decided to sever diplomatic ties with the country. President Paul Kagame emphasized that Rwanda welcomes all partners in its development journey. However, he stresses that history has taught the country an important lesson. On the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are scheduled to hold a phone conversation this Tuesday in an effort to resolve the ongoing conflict following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. My name is Olive Nete, and it's always a privilege to have you with us. Now let's kick off today's edition. The government of Rwanda has announced that due to Belgium's pitiful attempts to sustain its neo-colonial delusions, it has decided to sever diplomatic ties with the Belgian country. Adam Squizera has more on this.
The announcement made by the government of Rwanda to sever diplomatic ties with Belgium came after an interaction the head of state had with citizens, in which he highlighted Belgium's role in Rwanda's tragic history. Belgium destroyed Rwanda and killed the Rwandans. And this history goes beyond just the past 30 years. They would come back and forth to us and kill even those who survived. We warned them long ago, and we are going to warn them again today. Deputy spokesperson of the government of Rwanda, Ale Mukurarinda, stated that Rwanda cannot relate Belgium's actions regarding the insecurity in the Eastern DRC. Belgium has consistently demonstrated the behaviors I mentioned earlier, doing everything possible to destabilize Rwanda. They have made great efforts to hinder Rwanda's progress, mobilizing support, imposed sanctions, and persuading various countries and international organizations to act against Rwanda. They have even lobbied major economies, whether those that provide loans to Rwanda or those with partnerships, to block Rwanda's development and impose severe sanctions. Beyond that, Belgium has gone as far as undermining Rwanda in its own assemblies and on international platforms. This has been widely discussed for a long time. It raises the question, how can a country claim to have diplomatic relations with another, while at the same time speaking ill of it in other nations and international organizations to push for sanctions? What kind of relationship is that? The Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Dr. Jean Damascene Bizimana, emphasized that Belgium must acknowledge its role in the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. Belgium should be humble, acknowledge the truth, and understand that it is the root cause of many Rwanda's problems. To begin with, in 1946, Belgium signed an agreement with the United Nations to help Rwanda achieve independence, promote good governance, uphold human rights, and ensure inclusive and equality education. However, they failed to fulfill those commitments. Instead, they introduced ethnic discrimination in Rwanda. Furthermore, when Habyarimana became president, replacing Kayibanda, Belgium continued to support him and even helped him to establish laws that deepened divisions. The Belgians played a key role in drafting the 1978 constitution, providing Habyarimana with two advisors, Philippe Legens and René de Wolf, who assisted in writing it. This constitution reinforced ethnic discrimination in favor of the Palmaito ideology. It also emphasized the so-called revolutions of the 1959 and Habyarimana's takeover, framing them as cultural reforms that should be enriched in Rwanda's history and legal framework. Additionally, the constitution contains several provisions stating that a Rwandan refugee who had fled abroad will be subject to laws established by Rwanda. A law enacted on February 26, 1966, declared that refugees living outside Rwanda, as well as those who were put to areas like Bugesera and Rukumberi, had no right to return to their original homes or reclaim their properties. It also denied their relatives who remained in Rwanda any right to demand those properties. At the time, Kayibanda reinforced this injustice by enacting measures that prohibited lawyers from handling cases related to refugees or their families seeking to reclaim their land and possessions. This level of injustice was enshrined in a constitution drafted by Belgians and advisors and lawyers working for Habyarimana, who in return was financially supported by Belgium. The deputy spokesperson of the government of Rwanda, Ale Mukurarinda, urged Rwandans to understand and support the decisions being made by the government, emphasizing that these actions are in their best interest.
Icyo umuntu yabwira abanyarwanda ni ukubanza nabo kugerageza kumva aho icyemezo gishingiye.
What we can tell Rwandans is that they should understand the basis of this decision and the reasons behind it. We wouldn't say it is easy to receive and accept, because one might ask themselves, what should I prioritize? Should I put forward the sovereignty of the country, its security, and peace? And also we should respect each other as nations without claiming superiority or dominance over others. Rwandans must first understand that if their country has made a certain decision, it is in their best interest and for their honor.
Mu nyungu z'abanyarwanda ndetse no mu cyubahiro cyabo.
Following this decision, Rwanda has ordered all Belgian diplomats to leave the country within 48 hours, effective immediately. In accordance with the Vienna Convention, Rwanda has assured that it will safeguard the Belgian diplomatic mission's premises as well as its property and archives during this period. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for the detailed report. Now moving ahead, President Paul Kagame emphasized that Rwanda welcomes all partners in its development journey. However, he stressed that history has taught the country an important lesson, that unity and self-reliance are essential, and as no single individual or external entity can determine the nation's future. Adams Kwizera once more.
President Kagame reiterated this during his exclusive interview with Marian Alfal, highlighting how influential countries within the United Nations failed to intervene and rescue the Tutsi in Rwanda. He underscored how the lives of 1 million people were disregarded.
They didn't care. They just thought this, and it happens in the politics even of today. It's like these Africans
the French president
killing
said
each other. And even at the UN, the arguments were there, and including the Secretary General then, who said, oh, this is just Hutus killing Tutsis and Tutsis killing Hutus.
they were not looked at as human.
So it's like, no, it's like these are brutal animals, so to speak. They are not human beings. So meaning all of us are like that. So this is what, so the simple, this divide in the mentality, some are inferior, others are superior, and the Africans, the Rwandans at that time, it's like, who cares? Because to prove that, you talked about the radio that was fueling this and
cut down all the trees and
and so
kill the
on.
cockroaches.
There was even a discussion about saying, why can't even this radio be jammed and it stops spreading this hate speech? And it came from the United States. Some people say, that's too much money to... I think they even put a figure to it. It would cost them $250,000 US. So that was too much to save people. So why do they get bothered with that? That shows the dismissive nature.
On this point, President Paul Kagame highlighted the role of certain Western countries that remain reluctant to deliver justice to survivors of the genocide against Tutsi, while continuing to provide refuge to the perpetrators.
I mean, the whole of Europe, you go to Canada, you go to United States, these people are there. And there are case files that have been sent to these countries about these people. And they have just...
Why?
I can't tell. When you have a chance and you can ask those people, you ask them for me, why? There is a case, for example, that is in the UK that has been there for maybe last 15 years or so, or maybe more. 5 people who actually got involved in genocide here. Somehow they found their way into UK. People developed case files, begged the UK to bring them to, or to send them to Arusha in Tanzania for the UN tribunal to try them. Nothing was done for those years. And we even begged the UK and said, okay, why don't you try them yourselves? If you don't want to give them to Rwanda because you suspect whatever, that's fine.
President Kagame noted that history has taught the country an important lesson of unity and self-reliance.
But we have to live. We have to bring ourselves together and live a life, but a life built on lessons learned. And that, in fact, you are there on your own. You are there for yourself. Don't be deceived by these outsiders who come, talking about human rights, freedoms, this, they're bringing things to you, No. There's nobody who can bring you a life. These are just masqueraders. They're just deceiving people. They tell lies.
Building on Rwanda's lessons, the head of state recently urged Rwandans to embrace self-reliance in the country's progress. He emphasized that these achievements prove that Rwandans do not have to be belligerents or assimilate with others to succeed. Adams Kwizera, RTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for the details. Now moving ahead to other matters. In the northern province, the Rwanda Defense Force and the Rwanda National Police have supported a cooperative of former smugglers in Burera district, providing assistance for their involvement in business, agriculture and livestock farming. Meanwhile, in Rulindo district, construction of a water pipeline to Chinzuzi Health Center has also begun. In Burera district, the Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Jimmy Gasore, and the Inspector General of the Rwanda National Police, CG Felix Namuhoranye, presented 10 million Rwandan francs to the Twihesha Agaciro Cyane cooperative, composed of 70 former smugglers, individuals previously engaged in illegal cross-border trade, including drug trafficking. The cooperative members expressed their gratitude for the support, which will help them expand their agricultural, livestock and business activities. CG Felix Namoranye urged the local population to maintain security, emphasizing that it is the foundation for sustainable development. In Rulindo district, the Rwanda Defense Force and the Rwanda National Police and the local residents joined forces to also build a 2.5-kilometer water pipeline to supply water to the health center in Nawana sector. Residents anticipate that once the project is completed in the next 2 months, it will resolve the water shortage at the health center. The Minister of Local Government, Patrice Mugenzi, encouraged residents to take responsibility for the upkeep of the infrastructure and protect it from potential damage. These security outreach activities are centered around the theme Rwanda Citizens, with the defense and security organs celebrating Kwibohora 31st and 25 years of partnership with Rwanda National Police. Still on these activities, the Rwanda Defense Force and the Rwanda National Police, in collaboration with the local government, have officially launched their nationwide 3-month Defense and Security Citizen Outreach Program 2025, and this year's program is held under the theme Rwanda Citizen, with the defense and security organs celebrate Kwibohora 31 and 25 years of partnership with the Rwanda National Police. The launch of the event took place simultaneously across various districts within the country, and with the senior government and security officials leading different activities aimed at improving citizens' welfare. The local population expressed that these activities play a crucial role in enhancing their well-being. In Kigali City, the Rwanda Defense Force and the Rwanda National Police have collaborated with residents to begin construction of various infrastructures in various sectors. The previous bridge, constructed from weak materials such as wood, raised safety concerns among its users. The Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Claudette Irere, stated that the activities of the security forces also contribute significantly to the education sector. In Shira sector, in Nyabihu district, construction has begun on early childhood development centers, while in Muira sector, Nyanza district, the construction of 5 2-in-1 houses is underway. These houses will accommodate 10 families. The Executive Secretary of the Southern Province, Shimimana Vedas, emphasized the role of the RDF and RNP in driving development. These activities, which will take place across the country over the next 3 months, will focus on health, environmental protection, infrastructure development, livestock farming, and boosting the housing. Still on these activities, but through the health sector, the Ministry of Health states that the activities of the Rwanda Defense Force and the Rwanda National Police, particularly in the health sector, play a significant role in helping citizens access healthcare services near them, including specialized care for serious illness, typically provided at national level hospitals. On Monday, medical experts from the RDF and the Rwanda National Police began offering medical services for various diseases across the country. This initiative was launched at the Gatunda Hospital in Nyagatare district at the national level. The Minister of Health, Dr. Sabian Sanzimana, says that the efforts of these security institutions, particularly in the health sector, are of great value as they help citizens access medical services close to home, including specialized treatment for serious illnesses.
For example, last year, we've been able to achieve more than 3,000 cataract surgeries for people who are not actually able to be reached with the existing programs. It's cheaper, it's less costly, but also it's very, very close to the people's households, community. And so we benefit at both levels, where the community are, as they get the services, but also at the big hospitals, they're not overcrowded by people transferred from all districts. So we benefit on both sides. That's why we put a lot of efforts as the Ministry of Health, as the government in general, at other ministries.
Now moving ahead to other matters, the Japanese Embassy in Rwanda, together with the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, launched a project aimed at improving health, nutrition, hygiene, sanitation, and providing access to clean water for communities in areas of the country frequently affected by disasters. Enora Gladys has more on this.
$1.35 million, which is approximately 2 billion Rwandan francs, has been provided by the Japanese embassy in Rwanda for this project, which will be implemented over the course of 1 year. The project will reach more than 300,000 people in 6 districts in the western province, which have been heavily impacted by the disasters such as floods, landslides, and outbreaks, including mpox, all of which have significant effects on the population. The Japanese ambassador to Rwanda, Isayo Fukushima, mentioned that they chose to partner with UNICEF to help the community achieve better health outcomes.
Is dedicated to alleviating the suffering of those who have been seriously affected by floods, landslides, and the outbreak of infectious diseases. They have been forced to live in fear, and we commit to easing their suffering through this project. A once recipient of international support now stands as a key donor to UNICEF. Nowadays, together with UNICEF, we extend our assistance to more than 50 countries all over the world, working to ensure that every individual on earth, regardless of their origin, can live with dignity.
UNICEF's country representative to Rwanda, Liek van de Wiel, also expressed gratitude for Japan's commitment to support the project aimed at improving the well-being of population.
Disasters that have then damaged water supply systems, but also adding extra burden on the health systems, and we're talking about Marburg and mpox, which Rwanda, with all acknowledgement, responded to very, very eloquently and effectively. I mean, within a very short period, both were controlled, but that really has to do with the fact that the water systems are up and running very, very soon. Now, the current funding, again, is very important for our WASH sector and our health work, and especially for the most vulnerable communities. We know in general that people affected by landslides or floods, they tend to be one of the more vulnerable. Now, we will rebuild, upgrade, and climate-proof health and WASH infrastructure, and to reach the last mile, which I would say by the selection of the district is already implied. Effective and efficient as possible, and to build the resilience not only for systems but also for the people. So if and when there is another emergency coming our way, and again climate change, public health emergency coming across the borders, it's probably just a moment of when rather than if, but we need to be prepared.
The Director General for Water and Sanitation in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Gemma Maniraruta, stated that the government is committed to building sustainable water infrastructure.
To work with JICA and UNICEF and other WASH stakeholders to build much more climate resilient water infrastructure. In our vision is to have the infrastructures that are not easily destroyed or negatively affected by any change in the climate. In our country, we are one of the countries that are not really affected by the climate change, but we do have cases. And the cases are, when they come, the first negative impact on WASH sector. So we have to focus on this to see how we can have the new project, but responding to the climate change, just in order to have the sustainable WASH infrastructure. And we are looking forward to the collaboration of this WASH sector.
In the past 10 years, Japan has supported UNICEF in 7 projects, doing so through what is known as the Japanese Supplemental Budget, which is a fund allocated for urgent humanitarian and emergency-related activities. Enra Gladys, RwandaTV News.
icyo mbaza ni kimwe koko hari umuntu ugihagarara ku nyama muri iki gihe koko uretse nitaba umukiriya kiriya biteze
ariko tayo aho kusoreza imyenda wibereye kuri telefone kweli
ariko ni kuwa mbere nawe wagwa wango uracyari wose icyo nakubwiraga wa muntu niko ye umuntu w'umugabo ubukwe bwe akambara kositimu itukura iciye n'amaboko noneho none se uyisuza
si wombwiye ngo ngwemo se
ntabwo ari ibi navugaga
kuwa mbere kanda akanyenyeri 345 akanyenyeri 2 urwego maze nawe ugwemo. Wikwisondeka.
Welcome back. You're still watching RwandaTV News. Now to matters making headlines globally. The U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are scheduled to hold a phone conversation this Tuesday in an effort to resolve the ongoing conflict following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Both the United States and Russian governments have confirmed the talks with Dmitry Peskov, a spokesperson for President Putin, stating that preparations for the call are underway. President Trump expressed optimism on Sunday, noting that significant progress has been made toward finding a resolution to the war, and he believes there is a strong possibility of ending the conflict. This will be the second publicly announced conversation between President Trump and President Putin since Trump resumed office in January of this year. These talks follow a recent meeting between Ukrainian and U.S. envoys in Saudi Arabia, where they agreed on a 30-day ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And this brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of the top stories that made the edition. The government of Rwanda has announced that due to Belgium's pitiful attempt to sustain its neo-colonial delusions, it has decided to sever diplomatic ties with the country. President Paul Kagame emphasized that Rwanda welcomes all partners in its development journey. However, he stressed that history has taught the country an important lesson. On the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are scheduled to hold a phone call on Tuesday in an effort to resolve the ongoing conflict following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. And this marks the end of today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us on behalf of the entire news team. We wish you a productive week ahead. Stay safe and take care.
Ndabashuje